The Labor Department issuing a total deployment ban of Filipino workers to Libya. That's amid escalating tensions in the North African country. The DOLE says a team will be dispatched this week to ensure the safety of Filipino workers in Libya. The department adds it's ready for the forced repatriation of Filipinos should the situation worsen. The DOLE says the ban will stay in effect until the situation in Libya normalizes. There are about 2,000 Filipinos in Libya. Roughly half are in the capital city of Tripoli, where the recent clashes are centered. Alert Level 3, or the voluntary repatriation phase, is already up in Tripoli and areas within 100 kilometers of the city. But the Philippine Embassy there says only 11 Filipinos have asked to be repatriated so far. The embassy adds most Filipino workers there have a wait-and-see attitude, and they believe the situation will stabilize in the coming days. We now have on the line Charge d'Affaires of the Philippine Embassy in Tripoli, Elmer Cato. Good morning again, sir, and thank you for taking our call.
Yeah, good morning, Ina.
Yesterday, sir, we spoke to you, and you said that the situation is basically hasn't changed much from the previous days, and yet later on in the day yesterday, the total deployment ban was ordered or issued. Can you explain to us what happened yesterday? How's the situation there?
Well, the situation now has changed, Actually, this afternoon or early evening, we started hearing artillery fire from the embassy. This is the first time we've heard this since the conflict started. So that means the fighting is getting closer. And we have reminded the Filipino community in advisory we just issued that they should start relocating to safer areas because the fighting is really intensified. And we continue to note the use of heavy weapons. The two parties, the GNA and the LNA, continue to deploy more fighters and more heavy weapons in the front lines. So we are a bit worried at this point because the fighting may spill over to the capital itself. Although the way we see it now, it's mostly a seesaw battle, with both sides exchanging control of territory that they were able to capture.
Sir, how urgent is it for the Filipinos there to, as you mentioned, relocate to safer areas? Is it, I mean, of course, they may be worried that it might not be safe for them to leave their houses right now. What do you say to those concerns?
Most of those who are still here in Tripoli are veterans of previous conflict, as I mentioned earlier. So they still feel that they would be able to make it through this one. Although, as we've said, the embassy has noted the use of heavy weapons, and this is really different compared to previous fighting in Tripoli, based on the assessment of experts who said that the mobilization this time appears to be one of the largest, if not the largest, since the civil war erupted in 2011.
Interestingly, sir, we had an interview with a Filipino in Tripoli yesterday, and she said that the situation there is quite okay. Why do you think is she saying that? It seems like she's not that worried.
Because they still have not felt the fighting. They're used to hearing the artillery exchanges from afar, and to them it's normal. But actually it's not. And as I've said, we also went out yesterday to assess the situation. And if you really look at it, the situation in the streets in downtown Tripoli was normal. Stores are open. As I've said, it's business as usual for Libyans. But the fighting is really becoming dangerously close. And we already told our kababayan in the advisory we issued that once the fighting reaches Tripoli proper, our capability to come and get them would be severely curtailed because we may not be able to really move to go get them if they request us for assistance.
Okay. How about the possibility of enforcing a forced evacuation, sir? As you just mentioned, it might become a bit more difficult for you guys to carry out the repatriation if the situation worsens. So how about the forced evacuation, sir? Rather repatriation.
Well, as we've said, even if we elevate the alert level to 4, we cannot really force our people to go with us if they don't want to. Right. So that's why we're just appealing to them to please seriously consider the offer of the Philippine government to bring you home, to bring you to safety, because the situation is expected to escalate, and we want to make sure that we are able to be out of harm's way. So we keep on reiterating that request. And so far, we only have 12 now. It increased by 1 from the 11 we had yesterday. Mm-hmm. And we had about 18 Filipinos evacuated from their company in one of the areas where the fighting is taking place. So the employer moved them to a safer location northeast of Tripoli. So we were informed about this afternoon.
Okay, so now an additional 1 from yesterday, 12 Filipinos, as you mentioned, taking the offer to be repatriated, and about 80 were already evacuated and moved to safer area. Do you see this number increasing? I mean, it's relatively still small compared to the number of Filipinos in Tripoli. We have 1,000
yes, it's
people
really
there.
Small.
Mm-hmm. Are you hoping
really
that
small,
more
but we
will really...
expect the number to go up once the fighting enters the capital.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you very much again, Mr. Elmer Cato, for taking our call, the Charge d'Affaires of the Philippine Embassy in Libya.